Robin sprayed up the front bit. That gives us an idea of what it's going to be like. Going backwards to that Series 2 windscreen. Complicated manifold. John's made 4 special levelling devices so that the chassis can be levelled up.
This is a ducting at the front of the radiator. The aim of this is to guide air through the radiator. It's got a small opening with radiuses on it, and then the air expands and slows down, so it's got more time to take the heat out of the radiator. There's a duct there for another cooling pipe. It can go to brakes, damper. That's for the air filter. And then at this side there's another 2 cooling ducts which I can pipe air to as required. The cooling system, the water comes out of the engine, there's a thermostat there, into the swirl pot where it swirls round and round and round, and it takes any air or gases out of the, or steam out of the water, and then there's a pipe that goes up to the header tank. The water then out to the bottom of the swirl pot, nice bit of bent aluminium pipe into the radiator, then out of the bottom of the radiator into an oil water heat exchanger. Basically, in simple terms, it's an oil cooler, but what it does, it exchanges heat between the oil and the water. That's mounted on the floor, so it's very, very low. It could be quite a heavy item once it's full of oil and water. And then the water goes back up into the engine. I think it goes that way around. This is the oil tank. The oil is stored in here for the engine. What happens, it goes out to the bottom, there's a pipe, you probably can't see it down there, to the oil pump, which is externally driven. From the oil pump, it then comes out of the oil pump along this pipe into the oil water heat exchanger, in other words the oil cooler, up to the oil filter, and then finally into the engine. And once it's gone all the way around the engine, it drops down into the sump pan, and then the external oil pump has 2 large pumps in there which pumps it out of the sump pan along this pipe back into the oil tank. That's known as a dry sump system. Then this one here is a breather, goes to a catch tank, which is a requirement by the rules, with a little filter on the top, so it's all a clean sealed system. This pipe here is a breather from the engine again into the oil tank. This is the steering rack that's now in, mounted in 3 places. It was quite difficult to get all the mounts very, very straight so that when they were nipped up it didn't restrict the steering rack. Steering UJ. Now see the black mark there? That mark signifies the centre position of the steering rack. I can return the rack to its exact central position, which is useful for the suspension setup, simply by just lining up those marks. And then we can follow the column up if you like. Steering column, all mounted in needle roller bearings, so it's very firm but very smooth. There's a large aircraft spec UJ there, all sealed. These are the inner wings. They bolt on quite a few places, so they're quite easy to take off. All sealed, silicone, prevents any water being thrown up from the wheels going too far. On the inside here, it's quarter turn fasteners, and there'll be a vertical inner panel there which is removable. It's not in at present. This is the fuse box. Each circuit and each fuse is marked up, so I know exactly what it is. Okay. Batteries in position, mounted securely. There's also a plug there which enables me to plug in a pair of jump leads so that I can either put an auxiliary battery in or help somebody else. The inner wings are in, the exhaust sits underneath here, all sealed with silicone and stainless rivets. In here there's a panel that goes in, it's held in with quarter turn fasteners, so I can quickly remove it, get at my suspension, various other parts. Steering wheel with switches comes off, unplugs, and then we've got various switches behind the wheel, dash unit, starter button, accelerator pedal, nice curved bracket on, pad goes on the brake pedal, and when the brake pedal is depressed they're approximately level with each other, so it's easy to toe and heel. Also brackets to rest my heel on, gives a fulcrum point, pivot point, so it's much easier to modulate the brake and the clutch. Various other switches here for the car. It's on a quick release panel, so I can then remove it. You've got all the switches, so if anything goes wrong. We'll also put stickers on there to identify each one, so it's much easier to fault find if there are any faults, which I doubt there will be. Put the battery on, that's the earth. Then turn the master switch on. Now the car is live now. I can switch things like headlights on. We've got a button on here, main beam, low beam, main beam, low beam. We've got horn down here for the navigator. That's washers. You hear the thing going. We've got a fan. You even know where the switches are now. And then this side we've got indicators. There's no indicators on yet, but you can see warning lights up there.
Yeah.
And also if I switch the headlights on, you should get main beam warning light up there.
Yeah.